Thank you so much for coming to my show, and we want to welcome you for coming to my show and also listening to us. Today with us today we have Philip, and Philip, he's a retired pilot. He's going to tell us about the piloting career and how he started. So welcome with me, Philip. Thank you so much, Philip, for coming to my show. Yeah. I could take you back to when you started. What inspired you to become a pilot?
Watching airplanes. Dad had a couple of friends that had been Air Force pilots. And then when I was about 17 years old, we started school to teach me to fly. And they decided it was a gift for me to teach me to fly. My first solo flight in 1962 when I was 19 years old.
19? Wow.
I loved flying. I still do.
So since you were 19 up to when did you retire?
I had a few different jobs over the years. I've been retired for a few years now.
Okay, so all along you've been a pilot. Now if you could take us through a typical day, what did you used to do when you wake up in the morning and you have a flight to go to?
Get up, shower, and dress like everyone else. Go out to the airport. Make sure the airplane's ready. You check the weather. Make a flight plan to give to the FAA for them to approve. Saying I'm going to fly from here to there. And if I go by this route, and do a walk around of the airplane with your co-pilot to make sure everything's okay. The wheels have fallen off or anything. Make sure the airplane's ready for passengers. File the flight plan and wait for it to be approved. And then you get on the airplane and leave.
Wow, sounds nice. With the piloting career, research has shown it's very stressful, especially if you have a family. You have to leave your family back home and take a couple of days without them. Others say they are kind of underpaid. What you take on that?
It can be stressful. I was lucky in that the kind of flying I did, I was home almost every evening.
Wow.
Mostly one-day things. A lot of the guys and ladies that fly for the airlines or fly for the military may be gone for days or weeks. And in the case of the military, they can be gone for over a year. So it's a lot more stressful.
Is it like the company that you work for could make you go back and be back at home, or is it the position you want? How was it?
Both. If you're the senior pilot for a company, you pretty much get to pick where you're going to fly. And the other pilots that report to you decide where they're going to fly. So we try to be fair with them. Don't want them to be away longer than necessary either. The one that has the final decision of where the airplane's going to go if you're flying for a company is the president and CEO of the company or the owner of the company. It sounds nice being a pilot, being a corporate pilot, but the bottom line is you're kind of like a chauffeur.
You choose where you want to go.
Normally the pilot doesn't. If you're working for a company, the owner of the company or the CEO of the company may decide, well, I have to go to New York today. So he comes to you and he says, okay, pilot, you're going to New York. Now I would sit down and co-pilot and I would plan how do we go up there today, what route are we going to fly, and then we do all the work. But normally it's not the pilot that decides where he's going to go, unless it's a pilot that flies for fun. If you have your own little airplane and you want to fly with your wife or your family, your boyfriend or girlfriend, whatever, just somewhere. Then you go out and you fly wherever you want. If you're working as a pilot, then you fly where the company or the boss wants to go.
Now, what do you mean when you say the route where you want to go? Because we don't understand. No, us as passengers, we just fly. We don't know how you fly. It's not like a road when you're driving, you know where you're going. Do you have like a, you know, like a route up there that you follow?
Faith, it is actually kind of like a road map. If you look at an aeronautical chart, you'll see lines on it. The lines are like the roads. It's essentially a line from where you're leaving to where you're going. And the low levels, they're called Victor Airways, and they have numbers. So if you're going to fly from here to somewhere, you might decide, okay, I'm going to fly Airway Victor 124.
Aaron, look.
It's like saying I'm going to take South Park Parkway.
Aaron, you see the tires?
to get
This is
there.
the landing gear.
So we don't just
See
go
those
out
big tires? That's the landing gear.
and once you're out, try to figure out how to get where to go, and we plan it in advance.
So there's some lines that you follow.
Yeah.
Right. Tell us, what is your best and worst day of a job being a pilot?
Best is a nice sunny day with flying friendly people. Bad days would be when it's very bad weather. It's a lot more stressful because now you have much less visibility and you have much more work to do. Nice times are when there aren't any problems with the airplane. And flying is very safe. It's not often that you have a serious problem on an airplane. But if you do, then you have to deal with it. If you do get a problem, it gets more and more stressful. It's been said by pilots that flying is hours and hours of boredom, occasionally broken up by a few minutes of sheer panic. Mostly it's fun, but it's not
And
always.
also you get to travel a lot. You get to travel the whole world, going different places. I think that is best. Nice too.
Some of the airline pilots are male and female. They might be in Atlanta today. They might be in Paris by this evening. Sometimes get to spend a couple of days in a nice place like Paris or Germany or England or Hawaii or wherever. But yeah, you get to travel. Some of it's not so nice. Airlines try to keep you working. I have a
Busy
friend-
all the time.
I have a friend that flies for Delta. His wife says sometimes she feels like a widow because he'll get up at 4 in the morning. They live in the North Georgia mountains. He'll get up at 4 in the morning, drive down to Hartsfield, flies big airplanes for Delta. And some days he may go from Atlanta to Washington to Chicago to Los Angeles and stop there overnight. Then the next day might fly Los Angeles to Arizona to Texas, then back.
And that's why I said it's kind of a challenge, especially if you have a family.
Yeah, if you have a family and you're doing that kind of job, it's difficult.
Yeah. On that note, what would you say, because we've seen so many males who are pilots than females, what's your take on that when you see in the future?
In the future, I see more lady pilots.
Right.
For years, pilots were kind of thought of as a male profession, as guys, as big, macho, rugged guys. And as I told you off camera, Faith, I had some friends in Germany. A fellow's an engineer and his wife is a pilot. And she was one of the first 3 ladies hired by Lufthansa. And talking with them, she told her husband and I that she had to put up with more gruff, more crap as a new pilot than any of the men did, because she had to prove to these old German former Air Force pilots that yes, she was a quite nice lady, but she could fly every bit as well as they could. Initially, they did not want to hear that.
I think there's that feeling that women back then, women wouldn't be able to fly an airplane.
Yeah, well,
It's
there
more
was that.
safer than a man.
Back then,
But nowadays things are changing.
and back then, even with the airlines, women were thought of as flight attendants or stewardesses. They were expected to have a nice smile, a nice build, to be attractive. They went to stewardess school. American Airlines runs the school in Dallas for stewardesses. And nowadays stewards, because now there are men doing that job as well. But when they went to stewardess school, yes, they learned how to get people off an airplane that had crashed. They learned how to deal with passengers that got sick. They learned how to serve food and drinks at 30,000 feet in a bumpy airplane.
I know.
But they also learned how to brush their hair, how to put on their makeup and their lipstick, how to look as pretty as they could, because that was the stereotype.
Now, apart from that, piloting has a career or has an industry. What has it inspired? Now that we know that in America we have so many states and people fly back and forth, what has it inspired the society or the community, the piloting industry? Is there anyhow it has connected with the community?
Well, connection to the community in the point that if you take an airline, say it's based in Atlanta, and they decide what cities they're going to fly to, they want to look at the demographics. They want to know, okay, what companies are in Atlanta for business travel? Where do these companies have divisions? Like Coca-Cola, if it's headquartered in Atlanta, Coca-Cola has factories and things all over the U.S.
Okay, do they have something that scholarship, sponsors, sponsorship? Now, like, for instance, if you could take something like Delta, besides being the company itself, does it do something different? Sponsoring people, sponsoring education, coming up with job career.
Some airlines do. I'm not really familiar with that because I didn't work for any of the big airlines. I know Delta does quite a bit of good stuff. Delta has one of their airplanes that is painted pink and it has the ribbon on it for breast cancer.
Yeah. Yeah, I think they support breast cancer.
It does, and
Yeah.
the couple that my wife and I know, so I told you the husband's a pilot for Delta. He got teased by people because for a couple of weeks when they had their big program going, some of the pilots were wearing pink neckties and little pink ribbons on their uniform.
Yeah.
And Delta was correcting and trying to help the fight against breast cancer. So it's like any company, some airlines do more along those lines and some do less.
Right. I think it also depends with the company because we have some companies, they can try and reach out and it depends how big the company is. So you're right on that. Tell us what are the requirements for one to become a pilot, because maybe you might be having people out there and they want to become a pilot. What are the requirements?
You have to be in pretty good physical condition, especially if you're going to be a military.
The teeth counts too? The teeth counts? Why?
rides. And there was a fellow in a Navy that were asking him how much it would cost to fly a helicopter, get a private helicopter license. There's a company that does those flights for us is Blue Ridge Helicopters in their helicopter flight training center. And the Blue Ridge guys told them to go from nothing to a private helicopter license. Right now costs about $15,000.
Wow.
And there's not really a time limit.
And how long does it take to get the license?
Again, you need a minimum of 40 hours to take the FAA, the Federal Aviation Administration's test. Most people aren't comfortable enough with only 40 hours. So normally they get maybe 60 hours or 70 hours before they take the test. So you figure $15,000 for the 40 hours, another few thousand if you think you need a little more time. So it can be very expensive. When you say 40 hours, if you did it for 8 hours a day, you could pretty much do it in a couple of weeks. Most people are more casual. They spread it out. One, because they can't pay $15,000 in one payment. Two, they don't really have time to sit around for 2 weeks learning to fly. But it's time consuming.
But if that's what they want, they have to go for it.
Yes.
Now, with our last question, what would you advise people out there who want to become pilot and take pilot as a career?
The cheapest way to do it and to get to do it as a career is to start as a military pilot.
With the military
Yeah, the military airlift command is an Air Force organization. The Navy, the Air Force, the Marine Corps, the Coast Guard, the Navy all have pilots. If you go to college and you join the ROTC, the Reserve Officer Training Corps program, when you finish that, or if you can be appointed to one of the military academies, like West Point or the Air Force Academy or the Naval Academy, then it makes it a lot better, because if you graduate from college with a degree in engineering,
okay,
or if you graduate from one of the military academies, you've got a much better chance of getting training in the military to be a pilot. Now the government is paying for that. You don't have to pay thousands and thousands of dollars.
but what happened to people who are out there, like African, they don't have military?
I don't know what the rules are or the qualifications for a pilot's license in the African countries. In France and in Germany and in England, the qualifications are more or less the same as here.
In America.
In Germany, I know Klaus's wife Ingrid got to be a Lufthansa pilot. When she applied at Lufthansa, she already had a degree in aeronautics engineering from the university in Germany.
Wow.
It's not such an easy thing to become a pilot. It's an even harder thing to become a commercial pilot or a military pilot. But as a guy that loves to fly, used to do it as often as I was able to, I always thought it was worth it.
Mm-hmm. And you loved it ever since you were a kid. You loved it.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Mr. Philip, for our talk show, and thank you, our viewers, for watching my show. Until next time, we'll see you then. Thank you. Let's see. Thank you. Let's see how it came out. But I'm going to edit.
That train going by didn't help.
Yeah.